All right, so how do you actually set up a campaign? You probably see when you come to the ads dashboard, you probably see something like, hang on one sec. If you haven't run ads before, you'll see something like this, and you'll have your sponsored products, your sponsored brands, and your lock screen ads. Now, you may have seen at the top of a search, like if I type in, I don't know, like fiction books, you'll see at the top here, there's one author who's got 3 spots, right? So they have been able to take up the majority of the top of that screen there. This is called a brand campaign. If we come back over here, sponsored brands. So that is where you're able to have, multiple of your books. If you are a fictional author with multiple books, that's something you can look into. Depending on who you are, I've heard the return can be different. I haven't heard overall good things about it, so we're just going to stick with sponsored products as our the thing that we're going to be going over. And then lock screen ads, again, I recommend trying everything. I personally have never seen success with lock screen ads. I know there are people out there who do, so that's just something to consider. But with lock screen ads, I'm pretty sure Amazon will, even if the person's Kindle is offline, they'll still register the click, even if the click on the ad doesn't actually take them to the book because the Kindle's offline. So there's just different things to consider with lock screen ads. So for the purpose of this course, we're just going to stick with sponsored products. We're just going to run through this really quick. This isn't how you are going to set up your first campaign. This is just going to be a tutorial. I think it's easier to give you this stuff in small doses. So first, I'm just going to show you here's how you do it, or here's what it is. But then later we'll come back to it and actually use what I'm showing you here in the creation of your first campaigns. So here you'll have your campaign name. It's important to have a system. You don't want to just name it like this. Usually we do something like the book acronym, whether it's we'll just do BA, and then we'll do something like what type of a campaign for us is it. We have a certain methodology, which is like, is it an optimization campaign? Is it a test campaign? Things like that. So, and then we have the what is it? Is it the paperback? Is it the ebook? Is it the paperback and the ebook? And then we usually do what type of campaign is this? We'll have like auto, we'll have category, or we'll have word, which is like a customer search term campaign, or we'll have a product campaign, which we do. We put C for code, meaning ISBN or ASIN, which is the code associated with the book. For this one, we'll just do I'll show you, like if we were to set up like an auto here, then again, I don't know if you remember, but the number one thing, always make sure a campaign is in a portfolio, start date, end date. A lot of people have like funky stuff. We'll cover this maybe in myths as well, but people say like, oh, if you put an end date or just, like earlier, it's going to spend your money. Never try to game Amazon. That's just, it's just never going to work out long-term for you. It's not a strategy that you can scale. And so when it comes to your end date, I just leave, no end date. Don't get caught up in the bells and whistles of Amazon advertising. There's a lot of people out there, tricksters, who try to be like, oh, if you do this little trick, like that's just, there is no little tricks to Amazon advertising. It's all just long-term understanding the platform and seeing what works. So daily budget, you want to have enough in here so that, if you have 10 targets in this campaign, obviously this is going to be an auto campaign. I'd recommend starting with daily budget of somewhere between $10 and $20. And then you might need to raise that depending on, how much spend it's actually doing. But if Amazon sees like you're bidding $5 per keyword and you have 20 keywords in a campaign, 20 targets in a campaign, then they know that and your daily budget's only $5. Well, then you're going to run out after one click. Some people say that Amazon takes this into consideration when deciding, okay, well, yeah, we can get you a click, but after that, your ad's going to burn out. So why don't we show this other person's campaign who we know they're actually well funding it, and so they're going to be able to get multiple clicks. So that's something to consider with your daily budget. I think a $10 to $20 daily budget starting out is nice and safe. Targeting again, and it's safe because you're checking these every single day. and you've got them in a portfolio as well. So here's your targeting type. You have auto targeting, you have manual targeting. Automatic targeting, you're basically saying, hey, Amazon, here's the keys, do what you want. For inexperienced authors, this can be a good way to see, initially at least have campaigns running. Amazon's going to be able to maybe give you some feedback about what they think your book is most related to. They're going to be able to give you stuff that your book actually maybe sells on, whether it's customer search terms or products. So that's auto campaigns. And then you have, so we'll do auto, and then we'll come back up here. Again, my goal isn't to tell you this is what you should do right now. It's just to tell you, here's what's available to you. So that is an auto. We'll come back to manual in a second. For the campaign bidding strategies, you have dynamic bids down only, you have dynamic bids up and down, and you have fixed. Dynamic bids down only, I think these descriptions are pretty self-explanatory, but essentially you're just saying, hey, Amazon, I'm giving you some control. If you don't think I'm going to convert for a click, lower my bid. You're giving them full control over what that bid's going to be, except for it won't be higher than what you're currently bidding. Up and down is down only, plus you give them the ability to say, hey, Amazon, you know my book best. If you're up above, if you think I'm going to convert on this click, then raise my bid by up to 100%. So remember, like if you're bidding $1, that means Amazon can actually raise your bid up to $2 if they think it's going to be relevant. Now you might say, well, okay, well, Alex, like give me the secret sauce. Like, is that going to work for me? When it comes to giving Amazon control, the more books that you have sold on the Amazon platform is the more data that Amazon has. So I usually don't recommend giving Amazon any sort of control until you're up above 200-300 copies sold on the Amazon platform. If you're not there, then it's a shot in the dark. And I think you really need to be focused on your manual campaigns to actually inform Amazon, like, hey, look, here's what my book's actually about. So then you build up that reader profile. Amazon sees, okay, what else has these readers bought? And they build that kind of portfolio of your book. So they know, like, okay, well, people who've read this book have also read X book, they've read Y book. And so this is kind of what we think this book is about. Amazon isn't, one quick riff here, I'll give you maybe a quick story. Amazon doesn't know what they're recommending. We have one of our really good fiction authors who he's got a great book, and on a interview he recommended some nonfiction book which is totally unrelated to his book, and so many people who heard him on that interview went out and bought that book that it started to appear on his products page as frequently bought together. And so the books have nothing to do with each other, and it actually is quite confusing. The author doesn't want it there. And so it's, that's an example of, like, Amazon doesn't see that and automatically go, oh, well, here we have this fiction book for, 14 to 21-year-olds. And here we have this nonfiction book, which is like political. And okay, well, since, 20 people bought this book, also bought this book, they start recommending that book. Like, there's no filter there. And so that is why it's important, I think, to tell Amazon initially with your campaigns who your reader is by targeting relevantly, which we'll get into when we actually go to set up your campaigns. And then I think, look, keep it simple. Like, I think people get most confused by their campaigns because they try to do so many fancy things. Honestly, my team and I, most of the time, we stick with fixed bidding because you know exactly what you're spending. There's no guesswork. There's no handing things to Amazon, because there's already stuff being handed to Amazon, right? Like, if I'm bidding $1, someone else is bidding 53 cents for a target, and their book is more relevant. Amazon sees that their book converts way more. They're still going to get shown. So I like to know exactly how much I'm going to spend and then adjust accordingly. I don't like giving Amazon control when it comes to bidding. Ad format, custom text ad versus standard ad. People have different opinions here. I used to be in one camp, now I'm in the other camp. Now I see both as working. So I used to be like, I think the important thing is just to have your book showing. There's one thing I can say with certainty here is that people spend way too much time perfecting the 150 characters. I believe it's 150 characters. Let me verify that real quick. Yeah, 150 characters. People spend way too much trying to come up with the perfect 150 characters that are going to sell their book. And so they'll create, like, with the same targeting, they'll target 10 keywords, write, 10 different versions of the copy and set up campaigns that way. That is a waste of your time. Just having custom text is all that's important. You can adjust this over time. Again, go back to Brian's, his Facebook page is great about copywriting. Work on your copywriting elsewhere. Don't test it here because it's not testable here. One campaign with the same targets could perform completely differently from another campaign with the same targets that simply has different custom text. Don't try and test your custom text on Amazon. It's just not going to work. So you can go a standard ad. I've seen campaigns work just fine just by showing the book. If you have a book that's the title and cover are exactly what the book's about, like, I don't know, a radical approach to the Akashic records. Okay, it's about the Akashic records. You know exactly what that book's about. You might not need custom ad text. If your book is a bit more, the title doesn't exactly say what the book is about, then custom text is probably going to be more important to you. We put custom text on all of our campaigns. I think it's pretty important to use whatever space Amazon gives you. The argument against this, it's an argument I used to use myself, was that, well, I want the ads to seem seamless. I don't want people to realize that they're ads. And when you add custom text, they seem like they're ads. I don't think that's the case. I don't think they're that much more, addy, if that's a word. I just made up that word. They're more addy than ones that are standard text. And so hopefully this is all useful. This is just kind of a stream of consciousness regarding custom text ad versus standard ad. There's a couple of things to stay away from if you're using custom text ad. Like, I try to take the word you or your out of the custom text as much as possible. That will oftentimes increase your ability to get approved by Amazon, because they don't like you making claims like this will make you 10% happier. Stick with things that are more grounded in facts, or say your statements, but don't make it precisely about the person who's reading it. So I'll link out to the Amazon ads rules for when it comes to the text that you write, but this is like just a stream of consciousness over the time. You can see, there's a lot. Hopefully you've been taking notes here. Custom text ad versus standard ad. Summary is, do custom text ads. Don't try and test your custom ad. Just come up with, compelling 150 characters and let it be. Don't get caught up on trying to figure out the best blurb, because your time can be better spent elsewhere. Then this is where you'll select your products. We usually, for keyword targeting, we will target both the ebook and the paperback. Same with the auto campaigns. We'll target both the ebook and the paperback, and Amazon will choose one to show at that time. It doesn't mean people won't know you. They don't have the option to buy the other version of the book. The reason why we do select both is because what we want to do is track all of the data for the ebook and the paperback within that campaign. And the reason for that is, a few years ago, Amazon stopped showing if someone clicked on your paperback ad and they bought an ebook, Amazon stopped showing the results for that, for the ebook sales. So they'll only show what you're targeting. So if someone clicked on the ad and bought the same, if you're targeting the ebook, someone bought the ebook, they'll show that. If you are targeting the ebook and someone buys the paperback, they won't show that. And so that is why, for ones that are search term oriented targeting, we will choose both, because there's a reason. Well, then you're like, Alex, well, why don't I just target the ebook and the paperback in every single campaign? The reason for that is because of something we'll get into later. There are certain, whether you're targeting, we'll get into the codes, ISBN, stuff like that, that you want to target just the ebook or just the paperback, things like that. So, if this is going to be an auto campaign, we'll oftentimes do the ebook and the paperback. Since this is an automatic campaign, you can set your default bid, or you can set them by the targeting group. People make the mistake of thinking that an auto campaign is just one campaign. There's 4 components to an auto campaign. There's your close match targeting, there's your loose match targeting, there's your substitutes, and there's your complements. The close match means obviously it's going to be targeting products and search terms that are most related to your book. Loose match is the opposite, polar opposite. It's going to be things that are not super related to the book. Substitutes are going to be the things that the Amazon thinks your book would be a good replacement of for other people, for other products, and then complements is like complementary. I think those two are more important for like products as opposed to books, but I've also seen them work for books. But your main one's going to be close match and loose match. Now, for loose match, you're going to expect that your click-through rate is going to be a lot lower because Amazon's not targeting things specific to your book. As a close match, Amazon is targeting things super specific to your book. Now, one thing, there's always a caveat, right? One thing to remember here is with your close match targeting or your loose match targeting, this is Amazon. You're handing Amazon the reins. They might not know who your reader is. So they're just throwing out ads everywhere. And so that's why I recommend training Amazon with 200, 300 sales on their platform before you try to hand Amazon the reins, because they don't have data about your book. Then they're not going to show your book to the relevant audience. So that's something important to remember there. And this is a long lesson, so let's just cut this. Let's cut this one. Congratulations, you made it through this lesson. Let's start the next lesson, which we're going to get into negative keyword targeting.